Hi guys, this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So I've got here a load of book page and I thought let's come along and just have a play when you've got book page with kind of quite a lot of fussy kind of images on them. So here, these are from like a sort of vintage catalogue. So they are quite white. Weirdly, I've got two different types of catalogues and they either tend to be this bright white or very, very, very yellow. So they're like one extreme to the other, but these ones happen to be the bright white ones. So what I'm going to start by doing is just coffee dyeing them. I've also got this one, which is from the same catalogue, but just every so often you got these kind of more like glossy, like a magazine page. So you can probably see that in the camera. It's colour, obviously, and the rest are black and white, but also it is in this glossy sort of colouring. So I am going to coffee dye that as well, but obviously the coffee dye, you know, it might not necessarily kind of like stay put very well, you know, sort of sometimes it then, oh, what's the word? You know, like when it pulls, but then like spreads, it maybe will do that, but we'll see. So I'll just go over all of the pages with my coffee dye. I like to just keep a bunch of, not a bunch, a cup of black coffee on my shelf behind my desk. If you leave it there for a long time, it does go kind of a bit mildew, but to be honest, mine doesn't tend to be there for very long. You can also kind of like put a bit of vinegar in there. And I mean just a, you know, a very tiny amount, which stops that happening. Not so much that then your stuff stinks of vinegar, but just a little bit, and then it will stop that happening. You know, but yeah, not smell of vinegar. So just going to go over all of these, and I'm going to do them back and front with the coffee dye. So like that. This one. Oh, depending obviously how generous I am will depend how dark it comes out. I tend to put so this is one of those giant sort of cups. It's an old Starbucks cup before they changed the design of their cups. And I tend to put, say, like 3 teaspoons of coffee and then the full cup. So, you know, and then once I start using it, I often then top it up with some water, you know, so as it just lasts for a bit longer. And then obviously I get quite a lot out of there. Obviously, if you find it a bit dark, you can just, you know, add some more water to it and that will lighten it up. But weirdly enough, I do find that the longer it sits there, the darker it gets. So, you know, if it starts out, yeah, kind of like a bit on the dark side, chances are after a couple of days it would actually be probably too dark to use, in which case I'd add some extra water to it. So, you know, just kind of play around and see. But I mean, sometimes it's nice to have really dark coffee dyed stuff, isn't it? Sometimes it's better to just have sort of paler, kind of some and some, really, I find. I do find, and I've talked about this before, you know, like the photo quality paper, sometimes that can go very yellow and sort of turmeric coloured if the solution is too strong. So if that's the case, I would either do it very, very, very weak, or what I have done sometimes, and this sounds a little bit strange, but I have sometimes just used plain water. So I'm not coffee dyeing it, I'm just like water dyeing it, or water soaking it, you know, because really what I'm looking to do is get the crinkly vintage sort of feel rather than, you know, the coffee dyed look, if that makes sense. So, you know, sometimes just kind of like water, or, you know, maybe just very, very, very weak. So maybe like 1 teaspoon of coffee to like quite a giant cup. That would also kind of like work quite well. Okay, so yeah, go around here. Oops. Now I'm struggling to pick it up. I mean, there's some lovely images on here, aren't there? Can you see all of those? They're just lovely, aren't they? So I do like these vintage catalogues. I do sell the book bundles on my website from time to time. I'm not sure that I've got any at the moment. I have been struggling to find books for a very affordable price lately. The books all seem very, very expensive. So, yeah, I haven't really had any book bundles for a while. Everything's just got so crazy expensive, to be honest. So trying to find things, you know, for a reasonable price is near on impossible, to be honest, at the moment. So yeah, but do head over and have a look, because I might have some in there. Obviously I'm filming this ahead, so I don't know whether I would be likely to or not, but yeah, maybe worth having a look. So just go over like that. Okie dokie. Oh, nearly done. I mean, aren't these knives very lovely, aren't they? Decorative and really pretty handles and stuff. Very nice. Not like my knives from IKEA. Not pretty knives at all. Very handy, very useful knives, you know, great knives for cutting and all that. But yeah, we don't make stuff like we used to, do we? I mean, maybe you would in very expensive shops, I don't know. But yeah, not in the shops that I shop in, let's just say. Look at this cool page with all the scissors. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is, obviously, you know, if I wasn't filming, I would possibly just leave all of this to dry. But what I will do, I will dry it off with my heat tool. Oops. You know, my heat gun. No, heat tool they're called, aren't they? Heat tool. And then I will iron all of this. And then I'll come back and we'll make some bits. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. Now, unfortunately, I did have a bit of a mishap with the glossy one. So, yeah, I tried to iron it before it was too dry. And this is what can happen sometimes with the glossy paper. It kind of like bubbles where it's like almost in two separate sheets. And then, of course, what I've then done is torn it. So, yeah, I probably won't be using that. But I won't just throw it away just yet, just in case. So the rest of the papers, they've come up all wonderful and crinkly, really, really, really nice. So what I'm going to do is I want to just make some little kind of fold out little booklets with these. So I'm going to start by just folding them in half, like that. So we'll take a couple, we'll do like a couple at a time. So just do, or perhaps we'll do 3. Okay, and then do this one. Oh, which way should we do it? This one with these. These must be like cake knives. I assume these are more like butter knives. Oh no, dessert knives. Dessert knives. Oh well. Yeah, I don't think it really matters, to be honest. I mean, actually, this one we're probably not really going to see a great deal of the paper, if I'm truthful. So, you know, the pattern. So let's move these out of the way. Right, so I've folded my pages in half, and then what I want to do is just probably tear these down, but I'm first of all going to just fold these up into the half, if you see what I mean. So that one, and then this way, like that. Okay, so you've kind of like folded it in 4 times. Not 4 times, have we? 1, 2, 3 times. And then just tear it down the middle. Okay, that's my first one. Next one, so really want to kind of like score this middle one because that's going to be your tear mark. And then fold your next piece up to the middle, like that. Okay, and this one, like that. Okay, and then we want to obviously tear this one down the middle. So, I mean, if your paper's not tearing, because when it's obviously a little bit damp still, which mine is, obviously you're more likely to tear it. So, you know, I don't mean tear it as in neatly, I just mean actually tear it and muck it up. So yeah, I mean, it's better when the paper's completely dry, but I couldn't be bothered to wait for it to dry completely. Could you get that, sweetie? Thank you, darling. So sorry, it's school holidays at the minute, so yeah, my daughter's home, but yeah, that's obviously a parcel, or you know, the postman or whatever. So it's probably my ink cartridges arriving. I don't know why. We used to always have the same postman, and he was fantastic. He would just leave them outside the front door. But you know, then you get like a variety of different postmen, and of course then they don't know you, so they don't like to leave it outside the front door, I guess. Right, so that's those. Now what we want to do is slot this into here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just slot that in. Now, no measurements or anything like that. So I'm just going to kind of like do these wing and a prayer style. So what I'm going to do, just going to glue down around the whole edge of here. And then what I want to do is also glue down here, just on this edge, and you'll see why in a minute. And then we want to glue down the whole of this edge. So you're basically kind of like gluing all of your edges closed on your piece of papers. So it's the cartridges, was it, sweetie?
That's TikTok stuff.
Oh right, stuff that, yeah. Okay. So we're just going to glue this down like that. Okie dokie. And just spread the glue out. Now at this point you could stitch around this, to be honest. I'm not stitching around it because, you know, I know not everybody has a sewing machine, perhaps not everybody wants to use their sewing machine with their paper, so that's why I'm gluing. Definitely this is something that you could stitch rather than glue, and to be honest I think both is fine, but you might actually find that stitching is, you know, possibly even quicker than gluing, to be honest. Okay, so I've not glued it all over the center, if you see what I mean. My center's kind of hollow still, but that's fine. And then what we're going to do, we just want to make a sort of like tri-foldy type piece. So just deciding which end I want to use. So yeah, I'm going to use this. Now this is going to form a wraparound kind of closure. So I quite like this as the wraparound. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm just going to trim that down slightly, so I will have to re-glue the edge of there. Like that. So just then go back in and just glue this closed. Like that. Okay. Right, so like that. And then what we want to do is we want to do like a what do you call it, accordion fold. So we're going to go in like this. Now again, there's no right or wrong to this, and there's no, you know, precise measurements, just so long as you're moving it over from your wraparound closure, if you see what I mean. So like that. And then this one, just do in there. Okay, and at this point, I'm just going to have to trim down this end. So just again, like that. Now, obviously, depending on how you folded this, you might not have to trim your ends at all. You know, it might be kind of like the precise size. And again, I did make a prototype of this one, and I'm not even sure that I've got the same amount of folds. So, you know, just play it by ear. But basically what you're looking to do is have like a little, ta-da, like accordion booklet that's coming out like that. So really cute. Now, just going to go in and just refold or re-smooth my glued edges like that. And this is where I say, to be honest, you might find that actually stitching is actually better. Now here, I've got kind of like where the two book pages join. All I'm going to do is just trim that up, going off to a bit of a slant, so it's less apparent where they're not quite the same size, like that. Okay. And then just get some coffee dyed paper, and we're going to cover our inside pages. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 surfaces here. So I'm going to fold it in like this so that I can see how big this needs to be. So I'm just going to like measure it on here. So, and again, unfortunately this is quite soggy because yes, I've only just coffee dyed this, so it would work a lot better with much drier paper, got to be said. Right, so that's 2, 3. I'm not going to tear this because it will you know, just rip, to be honest, where it's very soggy. There we go. So going to just cut that down there. Oops. Like that. And then I'm just going to go in and see, so as we get it roughly. There we go. In fact, I will open this out now. Like that. Okay. And down the edge. Now it doesn't matter if this is not quite, you know, perfect. It's fine. So I might have enough to do the other sides. Have I? Maybe actually, because we've only got two sides on this side. So let's take this one. This one has torn, but again, you know, I don't really mind that, to be honest. So open your little accordion booklets out. Then you've got all of your coffee dye sheets, which you can then put on top of your background. Now obviously mine is a bit soggy, so this is not ideal at all. Be much better if I'd have waited for this to dry, or, you know, dried it or ironed it, but unfortunately I didn't think of this until after I'd already ironed the book page, so I couldn't be bothered then to go back in. So I thought, oh well, I'll just wing it, we'll just kind of go with it. So yeah, it's far from ideal, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like that. Okay, now where it is soggy, I'm having to be a bit careful because I've just torn the paper a bit down in that corner. Okay, and this one. So this is just your journaling spaces. I mean, of course you could, you know, round the edges or anything if you wanted. I've just left mine completely square, but, you know, squared off at the edges, I mean. Okay. Like that. Okie dokie. And then we just pop this back. Oh dear, folded in. Can you see it's very soggy? So yeah, it's a little bit fragile at the moment because it's still got to dry. And then open it out here, and you can put your two back ones down. Like I say, mine is now, you know, torn and things like that, but I mean, I don't really care. It's fine. I think it looks all quite cute, to be honest, being torn. So pop that one there. Like that. And then this one, oops, just like that. Might even have it that way. Okay, so again, just smoosh that glue out. Oh, can you see, like, my paper's torn? That's because it's still soggy, so yeah, completely. Shouldn't have pressed so hard when it's still drying. Oh dear. There we go. Right, so that's your little accordion type booklet. Now, just going to squish it down with my scissor handles so it's really nice and robust, like that. And then obviously we can just decorate that. So I've got some of my decorative edge strips somewhere. No, I can't see what I've done with those. Oh, what have I done with them? Ah, here we go. So just going to take one of these. I think these are my edge strips, the second edition of these, the second set. So just going to take this one. Like that. Okay. So I'll just ink this up so as it looks super cute. Now at this point you might want to ink your edges. So although this has been coffee dyed, which if you can remember back, you know, this did look pretty white, glaringly white. So, you know, definitely 100% is improved from being coffee dyed, because it was, you know, yeah, quite bright, to be honest. You know, although it was vintage, as in, I think it's like probably produced in like the 80s. It's a reproduction vintage catalogue. It wasn't discoloured at all. So yeah, the pages were pretty bright, but now it looks much better. Much better. There you go. I just quite like the, you know, the inked up look, to be honest. It finishes it off really nicely. And then you can just pop that in there. Now I'll just put a bit of lace down. So yeah, I've just got a couple of like scraps of lace here. Okay, it's just on my desk from something else, but yeah, I'll just put that down into there. Oh my goodness, how gorgeous is this looking? So I will just hot glue this down, because I just want it to be glued down instantly. I don't want to be having to like keep pressing it, because obviously it's just gluing over the top of that lace. So let's just get my new glue stick. So I've tried not to do the glue too thick. Just pop that down like that. Okay, how gorgeous does that look? And then the wraparound closure, actually I am going to take it down slightly more, so I might have to re-glue it again, just because actually it's still a bit too long for the piece, you know, it's kind of covering a lot of it. So yeah, we just re-glue the edge. Okay, let me just use a bit of paper here to save that going on to the underneath paper. Okay, like that. And then at this point, could, you know, round the corners or whatever. These are just like optional little extra type of things. Oops. I think the rounded corners do make it look more finished off, to be honest. Again, just ink that edge like that. And then you could do like a little closure, maybe a, you know, policy closure. Like that. I'm just trying to think actually. What I think I'm going to do for this one is, should we use just normal string? Oh my goodness, doesn't that look gorgeous? So yeah, let me just grab another circle. Okay. Just ink those up. Right, now I have been lately just using my crocodile when I put my holes into the circles for the brads, so I'm just going to do that. It's just quicker and easier than trying to sort of use a pokey tool and then it's not really thick enough and, you know, you have to mess about. So just going to get a little brad here. Okay. Like that. Then I like to just trim out these, because it has these like long stems out to the side. So we just do one and this one like that. Okay, and yeah, we'll just, oops, we're just going to glue this down on here. Oops. Like that. Right, so thinking what we could do is just have this literally at the back, kind of like wrapped around here. Oh, it's a bit of a shame because I've got that long bit of lace, but I don't really mind that, to be honest, that's fine. So I'm just going to glue this down here, and then what you could do, you know, if you don't like obviously the glue, you could just put like a line of paper over there. So we're just going to glue that down so it's attached like that, and then just bring back in the paper that I've cut off and put in the bin. See if we've got any. Okay. So I could take this piece. Okay. Just to cover that up. I mean, it's not, you know, you don't have to do that, but I think it looks kind of nicer really. So again, if I was probably not doing a video, I would perhaps just use my wet glue, but because I want this to just be glued down instantly, I'm going to actually use my hot glue, which is, you know, completely unnecessary, but yeah, it saves me kind of keep pressing it in and making sure it's attached. So just going to glue that down like that. And that way, you know, if you see the back of it, so if you've used that as something you're tucking into a journal, it's not then just got like a bunch of string stuck on the back. It's got a neat finish. So just wrap that around there. Oops. Come on, come on. Oh, come on. I think I've probably glued that together. Oh, how annoying. There we go. Oh my goodness, how gorgeous is that? It looks so vintage, doesn't it? It looks really cute, and it's got that squishy kind of feel of like a sort of bundle of, you know, paper. So yeah, let's do another one of those, and I'll try and be a little bit quicker with this one. So let's take this one, and yeah, we're going to just glue in the other page. So, and like I say, it doesn't matter, you know, this is like wheelbarrows, which, you know, obviously not the most fantastic piece of paper, but it doesn't really matter because you don't particularly see what's in the background. So, you know, it doesn't really matter too much what the paper is. Oops. But this is just a lovely way to use up those pages. Okay. That down into there. So again, just squish that down with the glue spreader. Like that. Okay. Okie dokie, and then just here. Like that. Okay, so this time let's try and fold it in a different way. So yeah, let's take this side here, and this is what I'm saying, you know, we haven't measured it at all, so might just trim this edge up so it's not quite so tatty. That's just obviously where I've torn it out of the book. You know, you don't have to do that. Got like a little bit of torn edge going along the top. Again, don't mind that really. You know, here you can see where the pages have joined. They're not necessarily level, but I mean, again, this is all kind of like part of the the charm of this, I think. So fold this side in. Our first accordion fold. Fold this side in like that. Okay, fold this one in. And then this one ideally is the one that you want to wrap around. So you're going to just bring it round here like that. And then I'm just going to chop off. I mean, you probably want it just under halfway. Like that. So you've got plenty of the underneath showing. So yeah, just kind of under halfway. Maybe like about a third left on the wraparound closure. And then just glue this down. Okay. Like that. Okay. And then you want to get your coffee dyed papers. So again, I've got a bunch here that I've coffee dyed at the top. So I'm just going to use this as my, you know, my measure. So we're going to take this like this. So we're going to do one. Oops. Actually, I'm going to take it down first in height. Then I've got less paper, you know, flapping around. Okay, so I'm just going to go along the edge there. Oops. Okey-dokey. You know, and if it's not quite straight, it really doesn't matter. All going to look fine. So then we're going to just go in 1, 2, 3, 4. And we just want to snip that down here. Like that. Then on this edge, like that. And then we just want to cut 2 more for like the, you know, the inside of the back, if you know what I mean, where we had like the other 2 folds. So we'll just take a couple of these, 1, like that. And then this one like that. Okay. Right, okay, so then we're just going to glue these down. I mean, again, can you see the state of that? It's, you know, pretty tatty, but I really don't think it matters. So take your 4 pieces of, I mean, I'm using coffee dyed paper. Obviously, it doesn't have to be coffee dyed paper. You can use, you know, anything that you've got, as long as it's plain, really. So, I mean, this would be ideal for like fly sheet and things from a book. You know, that's a kind of ideal use for that type of paper. Or, you know, like if you've got some text paper in a book, but it's plain on one side, text on the other, this is exactly that type of, you know, perfect for that type of paper. So, yeah. Okay. So I hope everybody is having a good day. Maybe you're doing some crafting. I hope you're having a nice time. Do share in the comments below what it is you're working on at the moment. What do you think to these? Do you like them? Have you got like some book pages you could use? I mean, I'm using this like catalogue page. You could use any page really. I mean, obviously this is like a coffee table size book. I think that's what you'd call them, like a sort of, you know, flicking through type book that you'd have like on your coffee table. But you could do it with a smaller book, but obviously you're going to end up with pretty much a very tiny, you know, little wraparound. Personally, I would find that too fiddly, so I would recommend using, you know, a much bigger book page. But, you know, use what you've got. I'm sure anything could be usable. Okay, like that. Then we're going to turn this over. We just want these two sections here. So, once you get in the swing of this, they're actually quite quick to make. They're a little bit fiddly, but a lot of it is kind of the prep work. So, you know, the coffee dyeing and all of that kind of stuff. But actually, once you come to actually assemble them, you know, they're not too bad, because what you could do is you could do them more like an assembly line. So as you make a whole bunch of these in one sitting. In fact, I think I'm going to do that after this video. I'm going to make a whole bunch of these with hopefully all the pages that I've got coffee dyed, because then I'll have loads of them ready for using. So, okay. Like that. So again, open that out. So I'm going to round my corners again, because I really like that. Okay, I'm going to ink it up, because again, I really like that too. I think the inking does look cool. I mean, to be honest, I wish that I hadn't coffee dyed one of these pages actually, because then we could have seen like the whole transformation of, you know, like not coffee dyeing, and then could do like not inking either. This would look really quite remarkably different, I think. So yeah, I wish I'd done that now. I don't think I've got any more of this book page left, but I might have. I probably have, but yeah, I obviously can't remember where it is now. So, like all these things, you know, it gets lost, never to be found again. Okay. So, yep, that's my surfaces all inked up now. Okay, and then we'll just take, again, we'll just use the, what do you call them? Secretary of Ed strips. I mean, something like this, they're just perfect for this type of thing, to be honest, because they're just a brilliant size, you know, for doing this type of thing. So, okay, again, just ink that up. Okay, and yeah, I wonder if I could use this lace instead on this one. Okay. Again, just going to use the hot glue so that this is, you know, glued down pretty quickly through that lace. Okey-doke. Like that. And then here. So again, just going to do another little thingy-bob closure. Okay, just ink this up. And just punch my holes. Now I'm thinking I would quite like some lace on the flap of this one, because I'm not that keen on the forks there. I don't think they're, you know, that nice looking. So yeah, might just have to kind of see if I've got any lace to use. Preferably that's actually the same lace as what I've got on the, you know, this side. Okay, squish that down and just snip out those legs again from the brad. Okay, have I got any lace here? How annoying. I've got this, I know, it's not really Oh, to be honest, now I'm like, oh, I wish that I had done something purple on here because that would have looked gorgeous, wouldn't it? Got this little bit. And it's quite yellowy. I don't know because I feel like that's now not really matching that. Hang on a second. Let me just see if I've got any of that same lace here in my drawer behind me. No, of course I haven't. That would be way too easy, wouldn't it? You know, if you actually had the stuff that you need right behind you. Oh, but hang on, I might have some in my lace bag that I take when I go to my mum's or anything. I don't believe this. I haven't got any in here either. I've got that. That's better match. So yeah, let's just ink this up a bit because it will match better when it's inked, I think. So we'll just pop this one on actually. Yep. So I'm just going to actually glue this. Like that. And pop this one down. Like that. Okay, and then we're just going to do the same as what we did last time. So using the string, we're going to glue the string down on the back. So just like a run of glue there. Oops. Like that. Get rid of that blob. There we go. Right, now we're going to cover this up with a bit of paper, just like we did before. Okay. And again, just going to use my hot glue. I know, sort of really overkill, but you know, just so it's glued very quickly. Going to pop that down like that. Okay, like that. And then here, I'm going to just wrap this around. So again, just going to cut that down so it's a bit less cumbersome to be using. Oops. Come on. Oh, come on. This is now taking ages to separate this out. I mean, what happens when I glue them down, sometimes I end up gluing the two circles together. You know, where the glue oozes out, it then sort of sticks the two circles together, which is not ideal when you want to then separate them out like this. There we go. Oops. Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. There we go. Okay, well, I've screwed that up a little bit, but how gorgeous is that? So aren't they just so lovely? And like I say, they feel really like squishy and kind of bundly. They're really, really nice. So yeah, hope that you like them. So like I say, I mean, they're just a kind of like quick one to give you some ideas of things to do with some of your book pages. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I'm going to just kind of get on and make some more with my leftover pages. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I hope you have fun if you make some of these. So really appreciate a big thumbs up to this video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing. So thanks so much then. Bye.